Hey there, Beasties, and welcome to Beast Foundry. Today we're going to cover the topic of what's better, Pathfinder or Dungeons & Dragons. Both of these are very different games, honestly. They're rooted in the same history, and I think one of the largest problems is people really do feel like, oh, I can play this one and this one is almost identical. There's a ton of similarities, but there's also a ton of differences. So let's get into this, shall we? D&D is designed to appeal to beginners, to novices, to people that have always heard about Dungeons & Dragons and want to get into it. With the rise and popularity of Critical Role and Stranger Things and stuff like that, introducing D&D to more and more people, they want a easily accessible platform that is fun, that you can just sit down and start playing. And to their credit, they have created that. It's pretty good at that. It has its flaws that longtime role players will tell you. There's issues in creating encounters that truly challenge people. The rules for building encounters are, pretty sketchy. They don't always work. And there's a lot of things that there just aren't rules for. In fact, this is one of the biggest things I hear about D&D is there's so much third-party support because there is so much left open. That's not necessarily bad because there are some awesome third-party creators out there. So very cool that they are able to step in and fill this gap. On the flip side of that, you're not going to find a ton of third-party support for Pathfinder. And that is in large part due the rules are very comprehensive. There are rules for many, many situations. Now, a lot of people kind of are intimidated by that, and they think it's a really crunchy, rules-heavy game. And just to be fair, it kind of is. But you don't have to learn all those rules. You don't have to know all of those rules off the top of your head. There are many resources that you can simply go online and search Pathfinder 2e water combat, and you're going to find a ton of stuff. And these are the rules for the game, so no matter what table you're at, it's always going to be the exact same thing when you're doing water combat. So they just cover a lot more situations than D&D. It's not that that is good or bad, it's just different. And a lot of people, view Pathfinder as a tabletop, a strategic tabletop war game type system where you need to have the maps, you need to have minis and tokens, and that's not as big a deal these days with all of the different virtual tabletops of D20, Foundry, Tailspire. I mean, everything is designed to accommodate this concept, so that's really not as big a deal as it used to be, I don't think. But they certainly do have this reputation that it is more complex, it's harder to learn, so people stick with Dungeons & Dragons. And to be quite fair, there's nothing wrong with that. If that is what you want, and you want a very simple, low-key game that you're just hanging out with your friends, and you're all having a good time, Dungeons & Dragons is very cool, very fun, and it is absolutely going to meet your needs. Where Pathfinder kind of comes in is the people that truly dive into this hobby and want more. They want characters that can do all of these crazy different things. And that's where Pathfinder comes in. The character customization is off the charts. You can do damn near anything with your characters. There is so much stuff. I mean, you have to build to it. You're not going to start off, but you're going to start off with everything. But it's a fun journey. And Dungeons & Dragons, a lot of tables, we're going to start at third level because first level is too dangerous. And, second level, a lot of your cool stuff comes online at third level. So let's start there. Pathfinder is very viable at first level. Your first level fighters, barbarians can have 20, 22, 24 hit points. And if you take into account a shield with a class that gets shield block, shield blocking twice for that 5 damage each time if you have a steel shield, that's another 10 hit points. So your character effectively can have 30 hit points at first level, 32, 34. That is nothing to laugh at. And when you are fighting those, -1 level enemies that only deal a little bit of damage, your character can just tear through those. And even the spellcasters can start with 14, 16 hit points very easily. That's not hard to do. there's a lot more viability. The cantrips are very cool. The damage from that on spellcasters, is not crazy high, but you can do it all the time, and you can do it from a pretty safe range. And on the opposite side, your martial characters, they can deal a ton of damage. They can rip through enemies very effectively, even at first level. So first level's a lot of fun. I have done a ton of first level games, and we've always had a blast. I've never actually had complaints from people where they are like, oh, we need to start at second level, third level, because first level just isn't fun. Now, I get it. There sometimes people do want to start at those levels because your campaign starts off at a different point and you don't want to work up through that, which there's nothing wrong with. That's totally fine. Done it before. It's a blast. But first level, very viable. I think one of the biggest draws of Pathfinder is the encounter building, where your GM can actually effectively build encounters to challenge the party from 1st to 20th level. All the way through your character's progression, these encounters work and they are tough. I have a game that I run every Monday, and this has been from first level. We are presently at 11th level. It has been running for, we're getting close to, year and a half. And from all of those levels, like the encounter we just had was several people went down, the party was at risk of dying. It's nice that you have that option, that you can always challenge your party. Now, I will admit there's a couple of times I have seen that, this game requires teamwork, and you don't feel as heroic because you're always in a fight for your life. Part of that is the style of which you're going to run the game. You don't have to do that. If you're going to do an adventure path, Paizo has come out on record saying adventure paths, they are designed to be hard. They want to challenge people that have been in this hobby for a long time and are experts at it. That said, if you want to tone down an adventure path to where the characters feel heroic, have them start 2 levels higher. And whenever it says they should level up, level them up. That will completely change the dynamic of the adventure path to where you are still going to be challenged here and there, but overall, the players are going to feel like, kick-ass heroes. That's important for people that are beginning. You don't want every fight to be a harrowing, death-defying encounter, because after a while you're just like, oh my god, all we do is go from encounter to encounter and almost at the edge of death all the time. You want your characters to feel like they are crazy important and that there's nothing they can't do. It is such a good feeling for the player. So if you're doing APs, as I said, you start the characters probably 2 levels higher than what the AP says. If you're doing your own homebrew stuff, you just want to make those challenge ratings. You want to use enemies that are probably 2 to 4 lower than the characters. And for bosses, things like that, you're going to go the character's level or 1 above type of thing. 2 above, maybe, if you're, really wanting to give them a decent challenge. That kind of allows them to keep with this theme that they're heroes and people that everyone would know, because the entire region would know you don't mess with these people and they are so powerful. Of course, that means, you're not going to encounter monsters at the typical levels that people would. At 5th level, you start seeing trolls and stuff like that. And 6th level, 7th level, you start seeing giants. Well, if you're running this kind of campaign, you're probably not going to see those things until you are more powerful than them and not equal with them, or they're a little stronger than you. So a lot of different ways to do this, but I just wanted to let you all know that that is indeed an option if that is the style of game you want to play. It is very doable, and I don't see many people actually talking about that. Everyone always says, oh no, you have to do the teamwork, and it's not a game where it's individual heroes trying to one-up each other, that if you don't work together, you're going to die. And that completely depends on how you build the encounters and the style of game that you want to play. This game is absolutely what you make of it. If you really want to get into Pathfinder 2nd Edition and you have questions and you're curious, hop over to beastfoundry.com, follow the links to our Discord, hit me up. I'm Zirmathor in Discord, and I would be happy to run an introductory game for your group, for your friends, if you guys want to learn some of the ins and outs of this. I would also be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I've been playing TTRPGs for over 30 years. I've been playing every iteration of D&D. I've played every iteration of Star Wars. I've, Pathfinder 1, Pathfinder 2, Mutants and Masterminds, Shadowrun, you name it, anything from the 90s, 2000s. So I'm pretty well versed in a lot of this stuff. But I just wanted to encourage you all to step out of that comfort zone and, give it a try. I think you're going to have a blast with it. There's a lot of tools for you to use. Just going on Reddit, people will always immediately tell you to you use Path Builder. It's an app. You can build a character in 10 minutes if you know nothing about the system, simply by filling in the blank fields and doing everything that the app kind of directs you at. There's Archives of Nethys, where every rule for Pathfinder is on this website for free, and you can just go search it. So a ton of resources. You can do this with pretty much no investment, honestly, if that's your goal, as to where Dungeons & Dragons, they are pushing a lot harder to get money out of their intellectual property, which is fine. I mean, everyone is entitled to do things however they want. So 2 different systems, and each one has its own strengths and its own weaknesses, but you're really not going to know until you sit down and try. So as I said, if you are curious about Pathfinder, hit me up. I'm happy to run some games for people and talk with you guys and answer any questions you might have. Well, that's about all I have for you guys today. So as always, game well, my friends.